Truman Show from 1998. So this is directed by Peter Weir, starring Jim Carrey, Ed Harris, Laura Linney, written by Andrew Nicole. And the IMDb plot summary is an insurance salesman discovers his whole life is actually a reality TV show. So for folks that aren't as familiar with the plot of this film, I'll kind of expand on that because I think it touches on a lot of the themes that I'm going to be talking about. So this is basically a television show that's been going on for 30 plus years that is following the life story of this man, Truman, which is who Jim Carrey plays, who started off life as a baby on this show, and everyone his entire life is an actor. Everything is being directed and scripted, even though he's not aware of that. So he's going through his entire life thinking he's living his normal life, but all of his wife, his friends, his family, everything is on a set, a gigantic set that's being broadcast out to the entire world, and everyone's very interested in what his what he's doing and how his life is going. And it's over the course of this film as he starts to realize, oh, wait a second, this isn't, something's amiss here. Something seems off. He starts to suspect and then gradually realize at the very end of the film, oh my gosh, like I am being manipulated. I am an actor in this show, and nothing's been real. And then he has this moment at the very end when he's talking to Ed Harris, who's the director, creator of the show, about his life. And he has to basically make a choice of, does he leave the show or does he stay on the show having known this? So this movie, I loved it when I first saw it. And more over time, the different layers of what this movie is trying to say have been revealed to me, or there's a lot of different things that I've taken out of it. And the first one, even that I was understanding when I first saw this back in theaters in 98 was, it's kind of an allegory for life in a way. Like when you start out as a kid, you do feel like you're the star of your own show. Everything's about you. You're selfish. You think the world revolves around you because it kind of does, right? Your parents are making all the decisions for you, like they're, directors or writers of your own life. And then at some point you have to then take a step out of that and leave and break off those, that comfort of having everything being controlled for you and the safe environment, and go off on your own and discover yourself and live your life. And I think that is what Truman ends up doing at the end of the film when he realizes he wants to leave. It's like he's finally leaving the nest that he's been in. And I think that's something that all of us have to do at some point in our lives. But it's not just necessarily the leave the nest of your childhood. I think there's a lot of systems around you that set boundaries for you that you don't really even realize. Again, your parents for sure, but there's also societal expectations, your job, relationships, systems of economics, capitalism, all these things that actually are systems that you're in that you don't really even realize you don't necessarily have agency in. But it's safe to just leave those things in place, go about your life, and not really think about what those things that might be controlling you are. So I think even after you leave the nest and go off and live your life, there are still other things that are controlling you. And really you have to recognize them first of all. And then you make that big decision of, do I change how I'm living my life, or do I stay within this lane that kind of society has laid out for you? And I think that's something that, again, Truman at the end decides to leave the show and go off into the real life, even though Ed Harris is trying to convince him to stay. Oh, you have nothing to fear. Stay on my show. All the problems are still out there, just like I create for you here, but at least you'll be safe. And I think that's something that you have to take that leap of faith. Not only, again, with leaving home when you grow up, but more likely just leaving these other, recognizing these other systems that you're in and taking a chance and really, going out there and, it might not be perfect, but at least you're making that decision and you have that agency. So for me, that really is the meaning that's resonating for me the more and more times I watch this film. And there's especially that end of the film too, when his boat, so he's escaping, and he's on his sailboat and he crashes into the edge of the set, which is a sky. And he's there and he touches the wall for the first time. And that's when he realizes that he's actually, his biggest fears of him being on in this controlled environment are real. And he has this incredible breakdown. There's, this music and everything. And it's just really powerful. And that is that moment of, shock, but also acceptance of your place in the world. But then once you know that, you have to then take action to break away from it. So the more I come back to this film, the deeper it gets to me, or deeper it is to me, and the more layers on just how to live your life. I think this movie just does an incredible job of showing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I had avoided this movie for a very long time because whenever I read the synopsis, I was like, oh, I know what this is going to be about, and
Right.
you know, it's fine, but I still want to watch it, and maybe things are going to turn out really badly for him, and blah blah blah. He's going to find out because it's obviously not real. But I'm so glad that I watched it for all the reasons you pointed out. I also think the movie is brilliantly created and constructed. It feels like a movie that was made like today. It just
Right.
felt so current and relevant. And I didn't watch it when it came out, so I don't know what the reactions were then. But that is, by just that standard itself, it's such a great movie. Um, the one other theme that I also picked up on was from Ed Harris's character, who's is a very interesting character, who
Mm-hmm.
in some ways is sort of trying to play God in this
He
whole
is.
world that he's created, right?
Exactly.
But at the same time, in those final scenes, you see the love that he has for Jim Carrey, because to him, Jim Carrey is sort of like his son in a way. And I kind of found that to be pretty moving. And back to your sort of leaving the nest thing that you were talking about, it gave us a parallel, not just for the child who has to make his or her own decisions and leave home and figure out their life, but it also shows you what happens to the parents.
Mm-hmm.
They brought you up, they tried to give you this safe world that they thought was the best for you, and now you made the choice to leave. It's not an easy decision for them. Of course, they are fearful, and somewhere in the back of their minds, they know it's the right thing for you to do, and figure out your own life. At the same time, they want you to protect you as much as possible. So I thought that was very interesting, and I just added like another layer to the movie. I don't think the movie would have landed the way it does if you didn't have this other parallel kind of mirror effect going on with Ed Harris's character. And he's not portrayed as just like the bad guy who's controlling everything. I mean, there are elements of that for sure, but it's a great performance, Oscar nominated. So yeah, amazing. So well done. I'm so glad I watched this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of my favorite movies, and watching it recently again, because I watch it every couple of years, it just hits me every time of the power and all the different layers and all the different things that they're saying. And actually, what you just mentioned too about the Ed Harris angle was something I only realized on this most recent rewatch, actually, of like, oh, that you sort of feel sorry for him in a kind of way,
Yeah.
even though he hasn't been manipulating this guy for quote unquote ratings, but there he does care about him. And that's why he doesn't want him to leave. It's not any kind of nefarious, oh, we got to get our numbers up and I'm making all this money off of you in the show. No, it's like he, like a parent is like, look, this is safety here. Like all the things you'll experience out on the real world are going to be bad and I can't protect you. Why don't you just stay here and I'll protect you and make sure you can be happy here. That part never revealed itself to me until the most recent, or that aspect of the film, until I just saw it. Yeah, I mean, I think this movie touches on a lot of different things, but like I said, for me, it's just important to recognize that there are these systems around you, and once you recognize them, then it's like, then you can have the agency to break out from it, because he never got the choice. Truman never had the choice to stay or leave until he knew what the world he was in. And if he chose to stay, okay, at least he has agency and control and understands and can live his life in the safety of this television show. But I also feel it speaks to the human spirit of like, no, like I'm going to take that leap out and going through the door. I don't know what the hell's out there. I mean, Truman has never lived in the real world. He has no idea
for more than a little while. It's going to be hard for him.
He has no idea, but I think he knows I'm willing to take that risk of going out there. And I think that's something that I think about a lot too, of like, yeah, you might not know what this decision is going to do in your life, but it's better to take that leap because then you have that control and you've made that decision than to sort of get lazy and comfortable within the confines of everyone, you being in your own TV show. Yeah, this is kind of easy. But is it really living life? And I think Truman really lives life when he makes that decision to go out into that door. And I love that we don't know what happened. I mean, I think that is what, and in a meta point too, he's now no longer watched, so we can't see him. He is gone from, we are the observers of the film, and the same way that the audience is watching him. So I love, it's like, we don't know because he's left. The second he walks through that door, we don't know what's going to happen to him because we can't, because now he can live his own life without an audience.
I love that too. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that's so true.
Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.